Hello. This is a little bit weird because I took a unannounced break from YouTube for almost a month, so I apologize for that, for not telling you guys that I was going to be doing that. I did 2 live streams within that 3-week break that I was taking, but I still should have told you guys that I was going to take that long of a break. I just was feeling burnt out, unmotivated, and I really needed a break to kind of regather my thoughts, rekindle my passion for making videos. I think I'm at that point now. I went to a cottage for a week. I was just been relaxing. I think I'm good. And I also wanted to say that to maybe not have this sort of creative block happen again, I wanted to start posting some sort of other videos, because I feel like maybe the monotony of only posting movie videos for so long was part of the reason why I got burnt out so fast, because I was only posting certain videos. So I was thinking that I would start using my second channel more, or if you guys think it's a better idea to just rebrand my main channel and post videos relating to music or gaming or sports and stuff like that. If you guys would want to see that sort of stuff on my main channel, just have it rebranded to a more general thing, then definitely let me know. I would be fine to do that, but if not, I'm going to keep it to the second channel. But again, up to you guys. Let me know in the comment section so I know how you guys feel about that. But with that being said, I just want to get straight into the video for today, which is what I watched in July, and what better time to do that in the middle of August. So let's get right into it. First film I actually watched this month was a film called Them. It is a sci-fi horror film almost from the 1950s. It is part of my midsummer obsession with these 50s sci-fi films, the ones that are just super cheesy but just an absolute blast. I really did enjoy this one. It didn't have a ton going for it besides the really wacky and absurd concept of these radioactively charged ants that grew massive because of this radioactivity and stuff from nuclear bombs, because that was kind of the big thing in the 50s, was nuclear warfare and whatnot. And it's just so stupid that it's charming and entertaining, similar to basically all of these other 50s sci-fi horror movies, except some of them are better made. This one is not necessarily one of them, but it's still definitely a fun movie. Alright, so next up I watched Alfred Hitchcock's To Catch a Thief, and I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised with this. I don't think it was amazing or anything, but you got Cary Grant and then you got Grace Kelly, which are both so incredibly talented. I love Grace Kelly. I love Cary Grant. Together, they worked really, really well off of each other. And on top of that, the story was just really, really interesting. And it obviously had some of those Hitchcockian vibes and that sort of storytelling to it, which I obviously really enjoy. He's one of my favorite filmmakers, probably in my top 10. It was just overall really entertaining time. It had its flaws. It wasn't amazing, but again, just a really fun, entertaining sort of thriller mystery film. Then I decided to finally rewatch La La Land, and if you guys know, this was at the time after this rewatch my favorite film of all time. It's not my favorite anymore, but it is sitting currently at number 2 pretty comfortably, I would say. And it's just so incredible. Everything about this movie is basically perfect. I might want to make a video about this in the future. I've said this about so many movies, so don't even take my word for it anymore, but the 2 main acting performances, phenomenal. The cinematography, lighting, colors, everything about the visuals of this film are just stunning. I love the direction and the editing in this film. The music is fantastic, and the themes and the overall sort of character arcs and stuff that these characters and the story progresses and goes through, I think is just, it's flawless. It's amazing. It is one of the best films I've ever seen. Easily one of my favorites. I mean, it's just amazing. Then I rewatched Jour de Fête because I wanted to do a Jacques Tati binge. I finally have gotten into the mindset that I shouldn't be rewatching all of these every month, which, believe it or not, after I watched all of his films for the first time, that's what I did. Every single month I made sure I binged through all of his films. I did that for like 3 or 4 months straight. It was crazy. I don't know why I did that, but I'm kind of into the thing now where I'm not rewatching these a ridiculous amount of times. But I felt like it had been time. I hadn't seen a lot of his films besides Playtime in a good while, so I decided to start obviously with his first film, Juror, and it's just so good. It doesn't quite have that same Tati style that you're used to seeing in his later films, but it does have glimpses of that. It has still the comedy. It has more of a story than a lot of his other films do, because it's sort of character focused around Francois the postman and kind of how he is jealous of these Americans who supposedly do these crazy things, which is obviously BS. They don't do that, but he believed it. He wanted to deliver the post-American style. It's kind of just, the film is a comedy based around this guy wanting to be a better postman than the Americans because everyone always makes fun of him for it. It's just harmless fun time. It's really entertaining and just really well shot and made in general. Then I watched Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula film, and I was a little let down, but I was also a little surprised. I didn't really have too much expectations for this movie, but given that it was Francis Ford Coppola, and given that I've heard it's one of the most faithful Dracula adaptations there is, I was expecting a lot, and I will say it was far more sexual and violent than I was expecting, which was a little off-putting, but in general, it is a very faithful adaptation. It is very entertaining. It's just so wild and off the charts that you would not believe, especially compared to the more tame, toned-down version from 1931, the Bela Lugosi version. I prefer that version for sure, but this one is definitely more wild, and I would even say more accessible because it's more entertaining and over the top, which a lot of people do like, so I think it has a lot going for it, just not something I love. Then I continued the Tati binge with Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, his next film. This is one that I really do have an admiration for because it is so well shot. It has some of the best atmosphere in any Tati film, which is saying a lot because that is his signature style. I love the beach setting, the beachside like town that this film is set in is like the perfect setting for Tati's more atmospheric and environmental style, if you will, because of these like long, like wide angle shots that have everything in focus and you get to see this beautiful town. And I think it works incredibly well in that sense, but basically nothing happens. It is a film that you could really rearrange everything and it really would make almost no difference at all. It's kind of just a collection of moments that, I guess, a collection of funny moments that are kind of just put together and shot beautifully. So I think most of the merit that this film has behind it is in the filmmaking, because while it is funny, it really has no story or no real character development whatsoever. Then I watched another Greg Araki film called The Living End, and I surprisingly really loved it. It is really dark. I actually made a video about this, so I don't want to explain it too much because I explained it way better in the video, but it is like a dark and brooding look at existentialism and mortality even, because it deals a lot with like what happens when we die, what stuff like that, and it's really, really well done and really immersive and entertaining at the same time. Then I wanted to watch another Jean-Luc Godard film because he's one of my favorite filmmakers. He has a great style. I wanted to continue through his work, so I watched one of his most popular films, Pierrot Le Fou, and it was a little bit disappointing because this is said to be one of his great achievements, one of his most popular and well-acclaimed films. While I did like it a decent bit, I do think it was more boring than the other two films that I've seen from him, because with Breathless, I'll use that as another example, because it is so like sparse in plot, similar to Pierrot Le Fou. But there's so much going on with the filmmaking. There's a lot of, the French New Wave choppy editing and jump cuts and stuff going on with the filmmaking that I was so entranced by it that I wasn't paying attention to the plot, where this was a lot less flashy, a lot more, not boring, but one-noted, sort of, not generic either, but it had a lot less flashy and eye-catching visuals and editing and stuff going for it, to where I was focused on the story, but the story was not that great, so it was a little boring, but it still was Godard, so it was a good film. Then I rewatched Mon Oncle, and this is one that really skyrocketed up my favorites list. It even has moved up since I rewatched it, sorry. And if you know me, you know that for the longest time, Playtime was, if I'm being honest with myself, it was my favorite movie for a long time, but I was just too scared to put it above Fantastic Mr. Fox just because of my nostalgia for that film and how I feel about it. I was very scared to put another film as my favorite, but I do honestly think that Playtime was my favorite movie for a while there. Regardless, Mon Oncle I always considered to be an amazing film, but an easy second place in Tati's filmography, but I've come to realize, maybe because I rewatched Playtime too much and that effect is kind of worn off on me, but Mon Oncle, I think I prefer it now to Playtime because it has a much more heartwarming, entertaining, and engaging story to it. And even though it doesn't have much of a story, I feel like the themes and the characters it deals with are far more relatable, and you can be more empathetic towards like the kid whose parents are very modern, like centric, and are not willing to, go in with the older ways like Monsieur Hulot was, and they don't like him being with his uncle, who is Monsieur Hulot, because he loves him almost more than his parents, because he takes him out to the old side of Paris and just has fun instead of just sitting around and playing with like a ball in his weirdly perfect front lawn. It is like so depressing versus like the happy side. But even with this sort of depressing modernistic side of the world that Tati sees, there is a lot of hope. A lot of this film is very happy, funny, entertaining, and it has probably my favorite third act and last like 30 minutes out of any Tati film, almost out of any film ever. It is so fun, so entertaining, so heartwarming. I absolutely love it to pieces. And yeah, right now this is currently sitting in my top 5 favorite films of all time, so I absolutely love this movie. Then I rewatched Playtime because that is the next Tati film. It is still a 10 out of 10. It's still, I would feel pretty confident calling this film a masterpiece still, but it has moved down a little bit. I do prefer Mon Oncle to it, but I think this technically is a better made film in terms of the visuals, in terms of what it deals with like its themes and with its characters. While I said I do prefer what Mon Oncle was dealing with because it's more fun, more heartwarming to watch, this is a more cynical sort of look at over-modernization in the eyes of Jacques Tati, and the way it deals with its characters, like the American tourists who are visiting these buildings that you could just go see in any country, as it is played as to a joke. There are posters of the exact same building in multiple different countries. I also did make a video on this explaining why I think it's so brilliant, but I really love this movie. Again, the whole 40-minute diner or nightclub sequence is phenomenal, so well done, and I just absolutely love Monsieur Hulot's character, how he kind of takes he takes the back burner here in this film. It's more focused on the American tourists and the other quirky characters, and I do enjoy how it did that, but I have flip-flopped this and Mon Oncle, but this is still an amazing, amazing movie and probably still a masterpiece. Then I rewatched the Universal classic Frankenstein, and it is still amazing. It still holds up. Boris Karloff is phenomenal as the monster. The makeup used for Frankenstein's monster is just incredible. It looks so good, and I love the atmospheric feel of this movie. Specifically, the whole thing when Dr. Frankenstein is in his like clock tower thing, and we get it's like a rainy, stormy day outside, and that's obviously when Frankenstein's monster was born. That whole scene is atmospheric horror at its absolute best, and it's just an incredible, really, really well done film. Then I wanted to watch some more different side of the French New Wave, so I decided to watch a Truffaut film. The most popular one is The 400 Blows, so that's the one I decided to watch. It is a film I loved when I first watched it. It has grown off of me just a tiny little bit. I'm not as invested and interested in what the story was telling, but in the moment it was really, really well done with how this kid was just going through his life, his childhood, just being like neglected by his parents and almost bullied by his parents and his teachers. And it's just basically about the hardships about growing up, especially when you're in as like not a great situation like this kid was. And the ending was very liberating, but kinda, didn't really accomplish too much besides that feeling of liberation. And it was overall very well done, but it's a film that kind of lessens the more I think about it. So yeah. Then I rewatched Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull, and now I can confidently say I think this is his best film. Robert De Niro is, in my opinion, the greatest actor of all time. He always gives top-notch performances. He has such great range with his characters, and I think Jake LaMotta is arguably probably my favorite character of his, and I love the black and white cinematography. This might be the most well shot Scorsese film, maybe other than Silence. It is a beautiful film to look at, and I think that isn't even the main focus of the film. At the end of the day, it's a character study about Jake LaMotta and about masculinity and rage and just the struggle once you fall to the bottom. Like we're hitting rock bottom. That prison scene is fantastic, and it's just incredible. If you want to read full thoughts, I have a Letterboxd review of it that goes fairly in depth. If you don't follow me on Letterboxd, definitely make sure to do so. I post a review basically every single time I watch a movie, which is almost every single day. So highly recommend you go follow me on there. I will put my name on screen and link it in the description below. And also this month I finished and rewatched Loki with my family, and it was definitely it was a good Marvel show, a good Marvel property in general. It is up there with some of my favorite Marvel properties, but not like top 5 sort of level. I thought it was really well done. Tom Hiddleston was great. I thought the story was really interesting, and it was just overall quite well done. Just not something that was incredible. Then I watched 8½, and it was very, very interesting film. It's one that really perplexes me kind of, because watching it I was pretty confused. I wasn't really sure what was going on. I knew it looked amazing. I thought the direction and the cinematography were just fantastic. I thought the main lead performance was interesting. I think it was a really good performance, but I'm not really sure how to feel fully on it. This is a film that I'm so confused and I said perplexed by, that I think it is a good movie right now, but the more I think about it, sort of the more confused and unsure about how I feel about it. So it doesn't really get better or worse the more I think about it. But this is a film I do think about a lot. I think it is definitely due for a rewatch sometime in the near future. And yeah, it is a good movie that I think about a ton, but I don't think I love it. Then I watched a short documentary on Netflix called Creating the Queen's Gambit. Pretty self-explanatory. I absolutely love this. Is maybe my favorite show. I think it's maybe my favorite dramatic show. The Office is probably still my favorite, but really interesting to see some behind the scenes and reasoning for some of the costume design, some of the production design, that sort of stuff, and it was really interesting to me. So yeah. Then I watched Yasujiro Ozu's Good Morning, and I really enjoyed this. I made a I made a video about this. This was actually my last video before I went on my break, was a sort of double review with this and Chungking Express, which I might as well talk about right now as well, because I'm going to say sort of the same thing for both of them. I do have that video which goes a little more in depth about both of those movies, so if you want to hear more about those, definitely go watch that video. But I think Good Morning was really beautifully shot. I love Ozu's style. It's very heartwarming. I love the child actors, and it was just really, really fun and entertaining. Where Chungking Express was a little bit more meditative and thought-provoking, and it was kind of about finding love and feeling lonely, which is a lot of, in my experience, what Wong Kar-wai deals with. And I think I liked Chungking Express just a little bit more because I love that sort of feeling, exploring loneliness and trying to find love and that sort of stuff. But I also just think Wong Kar-wai's style is extremely strong, and I absolutely love it. Then I watched Le Samurai for the Movie Mafia Film Club. If you don't know what Movie Mafia is, it is a Discord server. It is fairly self-explanatory. It's a Discord server. We got a lot of people in there. We're always basically active talking about movies. It is a very friendly place. There's a lot of people, and it's small enough to where you know everyone, but big enough to where it's basically always active. Anyway, we have this film club in here where we choose a movie, a bunch of people watch it, and then we have a discussion about it at the end of the week. This was the film that we chose for one of these weeks, and I thought it was really well done. I love Jean-Pierre Melville's style. Very smooth, sleek, sexy, very well done. I loved the main performance from Alain Delon, and it is just super interesting to watch, and I really, really enjoyed this movie. Then I watched Space Jam: A New Legacy because I wanted to just get back in theaters. It was a very, very fun time because I watched it with a bunch of my friends. We had fun laughing at how stupid and wacky it was, and it was just not very well made, but I really didn't care because it was just so much fun to watch. Then I rewatched Leon the Professional, and I still think this film is basically a masterpiece. I think it is one of those films that relies more heavily on being just a damn well-written movie and less so on the visual side of things, which to an extent, coming from someone like me who loves visuals in film so much, obviously because it is a visual medium, I think this film is so entertaining and so well written in its characters and dialogue and story in general. I am so entranced by this film, and every time I rewatch it, I remember why I love it so much. So that is why I think it is a masterpiece and up there in my favorite films of all time. And I watched Edward Yang's A Brighter Summer Day. This is one I've been wanting to watch forever, but I didn't really get around to it because it's like 4 hours long. I finally decided to this is enough. I decided to watch it. It is phenomenal. It is so well done. I actually recently did a thing. I kind of slashed my 5-star ratings. I said, on Letterboxd that is, I said, if I am not confident calling this film a masterpiece, then I won't give it 5 stars. So I drastically cut down on my 5-star ratings. I think I only have like 20 5-star ratings or something like that now. And so those are the films I would consider masterpieces. This was a 5 stars, but I wasn't super confident calling it a masterpiece, so I moved it down to a 4.5. Still, phenomenal movie, really well done, and it is just so long, but it takes its time in building these characters and this environment that it is just so immersive and does not feel like 4 hours. It's really well done, and I highly recommend it. Then I watched Jim Jarmusch's Coffee and Cigarettes. This is a film that really doesn't have all that much to it. It's about a selection of different conversations had between different people while they're having coffee and smoking cigarettes, and that's the entire movie, and it is super entertaining to watch these people talk about random stuff for no reason. And I think Jim Jarmusch did an amazing job directing this film, given the sort of limited space he had available with wherever they were sitting, like at a table. So I thought it was really well done technically considering the circumstances, and it was really just super interesting to watch. Then I watched Evil Dead 2 because I loved the first Evil Dead so much. I was expecting a lot from this, and I was very disappointed. I know a lot of people are going to say this is the point, but it's so stupid to where it's like, it's like almost too stupid. And it's like, I can appreciate stupid in a movie, I can appreciate over the top wackiness, but this just felt like it was doing it for the sake of being stupid. It wasn't really fun. It was tiring because it really took no time to get into it. The entire movie was just nonstop, just in your face, and it got so exhausting to watch. And I didn't care at all about these characters. Unlike the first one, where a lot of people say the character building in the first act is boring and these characters are uninteresting. First of all, I disagree. I think the time they take to build these characters helps you care for these characters and actually feel emotion when they get like murdered and killed. But this one takes no time to build characters. They're just like, here's this character, here's his girlfriend. They go out to the cabin in the woods. 5 minutes in, she like dies. Spoiler alert. But like, I don't know. I just couldn't care less. And then after that, it was just stupid, over the top action, horror, gore, blood fest, and it was just, I don't know. And I watched Old Boy because literally everyone has been telling me to watch this movie, and it was definitely a very good movie. Not one that I don't think I'll ever watch again because it was just brutal and violent and disturbing to watch, and I didn't love it enough to where I would like sit through that again. So unfortunately, this might be my only watch of this film. I thought it was really well done. I loved the mystery sort of aspect to it, and I loved the action. The action was definitely fairly good. Had some great music in there, and it had some great characters as well, especially the villain. I thought the villain was really well done. But yeah, I really don't have that much to say about this movie other than it was well done, and I thought it was good. Then I rewatched Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, and I now think this film is a 5 out of 5. This is film that I could definitely call a masterpiece. The acting performances around the board, incredible. The cinematography, beautiful. The story is haunting and creepy, but is super interesting at the same time, and it kind of goes into depth about like the kind of rock bottom, like gross human nature and how far we would go to fulfill our like fantasies and pleasures and stuff. And it was really cool to kind of see that stuff dissected but portrayed in such a beautiful and perfect manner by obviously Stanley Kubrick. This is my second favorite Kubrick film now, and I think it's just absolutely fantastic. Then I watched Dantes Inferno at a outdoor theater at the Italian Contemporary Film Festival, which was a really amazing experience, and I think it enhanced the film for me. But this film is still overall really well done for being a silent film, and I think it's the first sort of living feature-length film that exists. It is like over 100 years old. It's really amazing, and it's super creepy. A lot of the production design is really creepy. The sort of rudimentary visual effects are really like not great, but that kind of adds to the creep factor. It's really, really like unnerving and uncomforting, but also super interesting to watch. Then I rewatched Barry Lyndon because at this point I had decided I kind of wanted to work through Stanley Kubrick's filmography again. And this film really improved on rewatch for me. It's Stanley Kubrick. This is one of the, if not the most beautiful film I've ever seen in terms of cinematography and lighting. I think it's just masterfully done in those aspects. And I also think Ryan O'Neal does an amazing job in the lead performance. And I just think Barry Lyndon's character is fantastic. Then I watched Akira because I've been pretty interested in this. And I'd want to see it for a little bit now, and I'm just like, you know what, why not? And I thought it was a good movie, and it was really interesting to see anime take this sort of really dark and violent and druggy turn. It was super interesting. The kind of main villain concept was a little off-putting for me, but a lot of the action, a lot of the violence and gore in this movie was fantastic and super well done. And it was just an overall like entertaining and really interesting film, and I thought it had great animation, especially for the time. Yeah, it's a movie I would highly recommend and I would definitely watch again. And to finish off the month, I watched a short film called Enchan, andalu, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with. If I would use one thing to describe it, it is the movie where they slice someone's eye open. It's not a real eye, but it's still, it like gives me the chills. I really don't like that stuff. But yeah, it was just a really surreal sort of expressionist piece of filmmaking that I thought was really interesting, but there wasn't too much to it. So I enjoyed it for what it was, for its visuals, for its creativity, but I didn't really love it. And that is basically going to do it. That is what I watched in the month of July. If you enjoyed the video, definitely make sure to leave it a like and subscribe down below. Also tell me what your top 3 watches of July were in the comment section down below. Again, I'm going to hope to start posting again more frequently, and also comment down below whether you think I should take this channel in a more general direction, post some other videos, or whether I should leave that to my second channel. But that is basically going to do it for the video, guys. I will see you all in the next one.